have showed up for people in the most difficult moments of life for 25 years. It's what I've done. Um, when my son passed away, I decided to make a shift instead of kind of pre-end of life and the moment of the end of life.
Yeah. We live in this world nowadays where we're just so full of distractions and there's constant notifications and everything. And in fact, I just got one just now. I don't know if you heard that, but it, it, it's it is it's difficult to be present
Mhm.
today in our lives. Um, how do we work around that? Is there a mindset change? Is it something else that we have to do to try to become present? Because I think a lot of people have lost that sense of being present.
That's right. You're so right. You know, we have a society that's really built on urgency. It's really built on right now, and digital platforms are super valuable. They really have taken over our life. And the part about that that's so concerning is that they're so readily accessible. And
Mm.
so we wake up, we check our phones. We go to bed with our phones. And so there's very little time that we give ourselves right now, that we afford ourselves right now to live in the moment. And so what I'll say about presence is it's not organic. In 2026, it is not accidental. Presence must be intentional. And because we've been conditioned, that means that we actually have to put effort into restructuring the way we live day to day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you said, it's no longer intentional. We really have to work at it now. Um, and there's technology is great. I think everything's wonderful, but then again, about that distraction, it detaches us emotionally. We feel unfulfilled, and it's one of those things where, again, we have to kind of, I think, change our pattern and change our thought process in order to make it in the forefront, and purposefully be present and fulfilled. And I struggle at this. I'm sorry that I'm talking a lot on this one, but this one really hits me at home because I see so many of my friends and so many people who are just, they say they're too busy to do anything else. And you see that they're not enjoying life.
That's
They
right.
are not fulfilled. They're trying to get fulfilled and fulfillment, but it's not the correct fulfillment, I think. And if I can take a second to explain that, they're looking at either what is satisfying me right now, or what they think that somebody else looking at them is going to think that they are that person, and they feel that that is that fulfillment and satisfaction, which I think a lot of times they get it confused with their own sense of worth and their self-being. Does that make any sense?
It makes complete sense. You know, we don't even realize the prevalence of fatigue in our current society. And so this constant need to be on stage. I live in Orlando, Florida. And so because of Disney, we're very comfortable talking about on and off stage. But we're constantly on stage, right? And it used to be you were on stage when you showed up to work, when you were in very formal environments for people that may have looked like sororities or fraternities you were involved with, churches, your employer. But now it's all the time. People have cameras everywhere. And our need to project a life that says we're balanced, that says we're joyful, that says we're living in purpose, actually is usurping where we actually are. You know, this week I made I crafted an article really about not allowing the process to usurp your purpose,
Mhm.
right? And we have just become a nation of getters, of achievers. It used to be okay to, I'll just pick a random achievement level. It used to be okay to hit six figures. And then it was okay to hit seven figures. And then people attain 8 figures, right? And so there's this constant quest to be better, to be bigger, to be more, which leaves very little room to celebrate achievements, to realize achievements, to share with your loved ones and achievements. And so it really has created a society that is thirsty for more, but hungry for connection and
Yeah.
hungry for meaning and purpose. And it's broadly prevalent, even when we can't see it in ourselves.
That's just like what we used to hear uh, decades ago of keeping up with the Joneses. It's kind of like that same thing, but it's so much more prevalent now, and it starts at such an early age now. Um,
It's shocking. It's shocking. You hear these 4.0 is not sufficient anymore. I mean, we started that early, right? These kids are graduating with 4.8s, 4.7s. It's more. The pressure starts early, I watch friends and colleagues with kids that have schedules that are more intense than I had at 25, right? They have chess on Monday and swimming on Tuesday and softball on Wednesday and violin on Thursday. And they're children. And I, I mean elementary age children, right? The pressure runs downhill.
it yeah. Um, and the scary thing about all that is we as adults, we talk about burnout. So for listeners who are struggling with anxiety, overthinking, burnout, are there a few simple practices that they can actually start, immediately to become
Yeah,
more grounded and intentional?
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
talking for kids, teens, young adults, and aging adults.
That's right. That's right. I think the intention is finding it. There are things that we do, things that we connect to, things that are built into our schedules and calendars because they bring joy. They
Mhm.
are things that we connect to. They are things that bring value to our lives. And there are things that we do because they're things that we're doing. And I think part of the work is identifying what activities, what spaces are you in where you are automatically creative, where you are feeling yourself coming along. The places you look forward on Tuesday that you're look forwarding to on Sunday, right? The places that you have great connections, the places you think about on your off time, how you can optimize, how you can do better. Those are the places where we should be digging our time, our attention, and our focus. And the things that feel like heavy, the things that we're less interested in, that feel like an obligation more than a commitment. So there are things that we commit to because we need to, right? Because that's part of our
Mhm.
role or because we have an opportunity in ourselves that we want to strengthen. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things that are self-imposed heavyweights. You can feel it. You can feel it when you're there. You don't have as much joy. You don't connect with the people in that space with the same way that you do in other spaces. You don't look for way adjuncts to that in your off time. Those are things that we need to figure out how we can be scaling back. And you can even feel it physically.
Yeah.
You can feel it with less energy. You can feel it sometimes just in anxiety, depression, or sadness, or heaviness, I'll call it, around the fact that you're engaging in that activity, and a sense of dread and obligation. Those are things that we can intentionally decide and put plans around unwinding. Most things we can't just walk away from, although there are some things that are causing too much distress we need to, right? We need to have people in our lives that free us from doing things that are not only not joyful, but are actually harmful. So we need to have people that give us space to be able to do that. But if you're finding that there are activities that you're just doing because you've always done them, or because that's what the people in your group or your church or your workspace have done that don't bring you joy, then planning intentionally an end date and an exit strategy is not only helpful in that it's from a mental health standpoint, it's liberating. It's actually empowering for you to be able to redefine where your energy goes, where your time and attention goes. We place a lot of value on a lot of things, but the most valuable thing that we have is our interpersonal connection to something, the energy and attention that we give that, because there is not a person, place, or thing on the planet that can give that except for you. It is actually the most valuable thing that you have. And so corralling that into places and spaces that help you grow, help you feel fulfilled, and more importantly, bring you peace is the most valuable thing you can do, not only for you and the people you love and care about around you, but really for the energy of the planet. The planet gets better when we place our energy into things that are going to allow us to multiply and to have increased dividends.
Yes. I want to kind of throw in there that it's okay to let go in this context that we're talking about. It's okay to let things go. And it's also okay to say no. We
That's right.
always feel like we have to say yes. And then you can only put so many jelly beans in a jar,
That's
but
right.
we tend to put more and more. We don't put in and take out, delete. We just cram, cram, cram.
That's
Um,
right.
so, in your experience, how does being fully present really improve communication and relationship, and especially within friendship and families, and maybe even in a professional environment?
Yeah. I had a conversation with a colleague this week who was feeling pretty stressed, is a leader that selects people to come and work in their space, and was feeling pressure to fill some roles. And we kind of had the conversation around the fact that we need to treat our lives the same way we treat our homes, right?
Mm.
So everyone who walks past your house can't come in. Everyone who knocks on your door can't come in, right? There are rules of engagement into our homes, but we don't place those same rules into our lives. We allow people with questionable energy, unknown intentions, to have access to us and to our space and our mental priority. And what that is causing for us is distress, right? And so when you begin to intentionally own what's present in your life, what takes up your time and energy, there's a few things. So I am a nurse by background. What we see in general in society right now, because of lack of barriers, right? Social media has conditioned us this way. Anyone
Mhm.
can be a friend. Anyone can be a friend. What we see are increased rates of cancer, colon cancer screen. The recommendation for colon cancer screenings is reducing from 50 to 45, and in some populations to 40, because the incidence is higher than it's ever been, right? We are seeing more and more young people coming in with significant heart disease, having strokes, right? The rate of mental health conditions, primarily anxiety and depression, are skyrocketing, right? Because
Mhm.
people are surrounded. They've got touch points everywhere, and they've never been so alone. It's a pandemic of loneliness that we're experiencing right now because
Yeah,
people are connected and not, right?
right. Yes. Yes.
They're networked and not connected. Networked and not connected, right? And so when you intentionally decide who's around you, who fills your space, who fills your cup, what we see across the board are improved health conditions, that's for sure, improved mental health states, but things like improved productivity, right? Things like improved mental clarity. So, the ability to make decisions when things are difficult, not only because stress and depression rates have decreased, but because when you're surrounded by a trusted network, you have thought partners, you have people that you trust for advice, you trust to have feedback, you trust to have healthy banter with. You see longer lives in people that have meaningful networks, social support. And so the sequela of building a life that is surrounded by things and people that matter far supersedes lives that are built on things that look good on
Mhm.
Instagram, but bring untoward stressors, pressures, and really, at the end of the day, a lack of fulfillment.
Yeah. And I like how you added at the very beginning about the house. You don't let everybody through your front door that just walks by. And the other way I think about that too is you clean your house, you vacuum and you clean. So you should do that to yourself as well. Clean. And what we're talking about earlier is letting things go or saying no is almost like cleaning house for yourself, um, getting them rid of the clutter. So,
You
um,
know, and on that metaphor, the other thing that we do with our homes is we maintain them, right?
yeah.
We do them, and so you do the general cleaning that's required routinely, right? But there's also a time when you've got someone out to inspect your roof. Is it still solid? Or is there something else that you need to do? So we talk about that physically, right? People are not as connected to their dentists, their eye doctors, their physicians, but also whatever it is that you do to show up. Do you have a relationship with a therapist if you need it? Whatever business you're in, are you developing yourself? Are you looking for opportunities to grow and be better? Where there are weaknesses, how are you maintaining you? That can be spiritually, it can be physically, it can be emotional, it can be financially. Are we ensuring that we're making sure that there aren't any cracks, there aren't any breaks, there aren't any weaknesses that we can do something about now before a hurricane hits and it becomes a problem? That is a definite Florida reference.
Oh, goodness. Uh, you know, uh, I'm gonna roll back for a little bit because you had mentioned the word calendar, and where I look at it as many of us have calendars, personal, business, but we tend to put in all of our work stuff and even stuff that's not that we put upon ourselves to do that doesn't bring joy. And the funny thing to me is if there's something joyful to do and you say to somebody, let's plan, so many people say, I don't know what I'm going to do then. They're making an excuse not to enjoy their life, to plan to enjoy. And I just don't understand that where people don't plan for enjoyment.
Yeah, yeah. And you're exactly right. We live in a world right now where some people have to actually plan it, right? It's not going to organically happen. So it's a
Mhm.
decision that says, I'm going to have a summer where I am more engaged with my family. I'm going to have a summer where I take some time off. And that looks like intentionally looking at a calendar. I love, and I tell the teams that I work with, a calendar that doesn't have a weekly block for strategizing, processing, and thinking is a calendar of someone who will ultimately be ineffective, right?
Mm, mhm, mhm.
We have so many things coming at us all week: the emails, the calls, the meetings, the work, the rushing home. If you don't have time for whatever it is that you do in your business to intentionally reflect on what's happening and what you're going to do next, you will constantly move from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, which never gives you an opportunity to evaluate outcomes effectively, to see how impactful you are being not only in your business, but how it's reflecting to you in life in general. The failure to do that is a failure to continue to optimize yourself for your lives. And so I have on my calendar on Monday mornings, every Monday morning, a block of time where I am in reflection, right? I'm looking back and forward to ensure that for my goals, my targets, that the work is aligned with that. And I am also making sure that my personal things are on my calendar. It is visible it is visible on my Outlook calendar, just like what's important for work is, that I am able to see, I need to show up this day for this event for my family because it matters. And I plan intentionally because when I haven't done that, and I've certainly not always done that, but I'll never forget when my son was played high school and college or in high school football, senior prom night or senior parent night. I was caught up in a work event and I walked in 2 minutes after they called his name on the field, and the coach had to walk him down the field. And he's 26 now, and to this day, we still talk about it, right? And I made a choice then to never miss those events again. And so my calendar is scoped accordingly with plenty of time to ensure that the events that are important to me outside of work impact how work is scheduled.
Mm-hmm. Um, was that the defining moment in your life when you made or you realized the importance of slowing down and becoming more present, or was there anything else or something else?
Yeah, I think it's happened increasingly over time, but the real moment when I had to have the gut check was the loss of my son. So my son died unexpectedly in 2023. My husband and I were actually doing the thing that we're talking about. We were on a cruise ship and floating in the Caribbean Sea when it happened. And my younger son gave me the call and said the words no parents wants to hear. My older son Darius was dead. He had had a seizure in his sleep and never woke up. And that was January 3rd, 2023. So we were fresh off the holidays, in celebratory mode. But I had been much too busy over the Christmas season to connect with Darius, who lived in Ohio, for Christmas, which was his birthday. So I was so busy preparing for this cruise that I didn't take enough time off to get up there, to spend the time to see him. And those are obviously moments that I will never get back. And so you want to talk about a gut check, right? What's important? At the end of the day, what matters? What could have waited? My hope is that the audience, the world, understands that we can't live a life full of regret. But if we make choices that are rooted in purpose and rooted in what's important and most valuable to us, at the end of the day, we'll have much less to reflect back on that we wish we had done. And on my last day, I will wish that Christmas 2022 had been spent differently, and it wasn't. And so that was certainly a reset for me.
Um, you know, I don't know if this goes along with what you're talking about just now with your loss, and if this is going to help people or not. But I my experience now has been if you have a gut feeling to reach out to someone, If you have a gut feeling to do something, do it. Don't put it off.
That's right.
Um, you you one never knows.
That's
One
right.
never knows. And then that moment passes, whether something traumatic happens or not, but that moment passes and things will forever be different, if that makes any
That's right.
sense.
That's right. To me, and whether that is, I don't know why in a society that DMs millions of times a day, we're so uncomfortable picking up a phone and saying, "Hey, I was just thinking of you," right? But we're
Yeah.
very uncomfortable doing that. And I'm with you. I think you get gut feelings. I think the universe speaks to us in moments that we need it. I don't know and understand how all of that works. It's bigger than me. Um, but there's less harm in doing that than there is in not doing it. Um, and particularly in moments when there's someone that you care about who is going through something difficult. We have life is full of losses, right? It's full of losses. It's full of lost jobs and lost relationships. And sometimes we're uncomfortable reaching out to people in those moments. And that's exactly when they need to feel
Mm,
connected the most.
mhm.
Um, People say, I don't know what to say. She's going through a rough time. There's a new cancer diagnosis. Her dad just died. His wife just left him. That's when people need to know that they're not alone in this big old world, that there's somebody there who still cares. And people feel like they have to be therapists to have those conversations. But the reality is, I was thinking about you. I know it's rough. That stinks, and I don't know what to say, but I wanted you to know that I'm here. If you want to talk, I'm here. If you want dinner, I'm here. You want to go grab a beer, I'm here. Those conversations build bonds, connections, and gratitude in a way that we can't build artificially through these online networks and certainly not telepathically. I think sometimes people think, well, I thought about them, but that intentional effort, and it doesn't just do things for them, but the gratitude does something for you. The
Yeah.
showing up in a human moment, the sharing the empathy, the responding to that call, that gut check, that feeling that I need to do something is being authentic to who you really are, who you want to be, the kind of human you want to show up in the world as. And I think it's invaluable.
Yeah. This is just a comment because of everything that you're talking about is uh, what I want, and to do. And this just happened just about a week ago. Social media, I'm reading a post, and the person and people who were chiming in were talking about nobody ever gets together anymore. Nobody does this, does that. They're all DMing, and we're all just on social media. Why are we doing this? Why? So I thought, you know what? I'm going to put this in there. I put, hey, does anybody want to get together this week or sometime soon and you know have a coffee? Out of I think there are like 12 people on that chat, one person replied and said, "Well, I don't have time." What are all you complaining about? And I'm getting at that because I think we program ourselves into thinking one way and doing something, but we don't take the initiative to do what we say that we want to do. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think, the unfortunate reality is we might have to baby step our way back into this.
Yeah.
And so social gatherings, right? I've had online coffee time, online happy hours,
Yeah.
right? And but the cameras required. You can't be at the office, right? There's ground rules to that.
Yes.
But they've actually been really fun. Really fun.
I enjoy them. I was trying to get
That's
the
right.
people to go in person because they were complaining about being in person, and Kelly, I knew that no one. would take the bait to meet in person. It just seems like this is status quo and this is normal now. Just, you know, DMing and staying online and staying in
That's
our
right.
safe bubble, whatever that space might
That's
be,
right.
which is sad.
It really is sad, and it's why stories about missed opportunities matter. It's why sharing the regrets matter. It's what, unfortunately, you'd like positive reinforcement, right? So let's do an online happy hour and see if we have enough fun doing a couple of those, if we can get people to move. I much prefer positive reinforcement, but I am not opposed to negative reinforcement. And the kind of idea that, um, in the work that I do, I meet dozens of people all the time who wish they had one more opportunity, one last hug, one
Hmm.
last dinner, right? One last happy hour. And sometimes, unfortunately, people have to be exposed to what happens when you don't take those opportunities to live in the moments of actually taking the opportunities.
Yeah. Kelly, can you let everybody know where they can find out more information about you, what you
Yeah.
offer,
Yeah.
and just your story?
Yeah. So, again, I am a nurse by background. So, trauma ICU nurse. I have showed up for people in the most difficult moments of life for 25 years. That's what I've done. Um, when my son passed away, I decided to make a shift. Instead of kind of pre-end of life and the moment of the end of life, I spent a lot of time with people who are dealing with the post-grief loss.
Mm.
Post loss grief. And so people mistake grief. They think, I thought that grief happened when I was in the hospital and I told you, I'm sorry, your husband didn't make it through the night. You thought that was grief. It's not, a shock. Grief happens 3 months down the road when everyone has forgotten that you're living in this silent, alone place without someone you love and they've moved on to life. And so my organization spends a lot of time in that first year of loss. We walk with people from the funeral to the first year anniversary. We show up on the days that research says are emotional triggers. So we follow an emotional calendar. We would show up on a wedding anniversary, on a departed's birthday, on that first holiday season without your loved one. And we come with heirloom quality memorial tributes that are personalized and allow them to not feel alone.
Mm.
We also do a lot of training for organizations, for leaders, to help them understand how to walk with their teams through loss. 1 in 5 people is actively grieving a significant loss right now. 20% of the workforce right now is actively grieving some loss, a spouse, a marriage, a house, something. They are actively grieving a significant loss. And they are expected to show up at work as though nothing has happened. And so we work with leaders to help them walk with people through grief and support them. And we have a presence framework that really talks to them about how to show up and how to have sustained presence through that loss, because the research tells us employees that feel supported stay longer and are more engaged throughout that first year. And the last thing I do is I really work with women in particular who have experienced a significant loss and are looking to be resilient. How do I put this pain into purpose? And so we have a program called Arise that is really for women who feel like I've had a significant loss, but there are lessons here in a way that I want to impact the world, and we help them come alive. So that's really the work that happens with Timely Presence.
And that's at thetimelypresence.com, right?
That's right. Thetimelypresence.com. I am on Instagram at Kelly Edmondson. That's EDMONDSON. And at Facebook and Instagram at the.Kelly Edmondson or The Timely Presence.
I want to thank you very much for providing the information to us today. Because as I said off camera, I think maybe I said this on camera, but I think this is something a lot of us have experienced, are experiencing, but many of the things I hope people don't experience, you know.
That's
So,
right. That's right.
but
Live fully.
it's
Live
yeah,
fully.
yeah, live fully. To me, it's more than just living in the now, living in the present. The present means every single day. It just does not mean just this second and then it's gone. It's
That's
I'm
right.
living this moment, every moment.
That's right. That's waking up just early enough to see the sunrise and walking to your car and just feeling a breeze as it hits your face. I mean, those are moments that you have to be intentional on, but they make life joyful. They really do. They really do.
Yeah, yeah. Find what makes you happy and make it make it an everyday thing if you can.
That's right.
Kelly, thank you very much. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah. Thank you.